This is my favorite day of the week. You know what day it is?
Podcast day?
How'd you know? Favorite day. This One Time in Real Estate. Season number 2. Episode number
34.
Fantastic. I got a headline for you.
Ooh.
Fox News Business. Record number of home deals collapse in July amid high prices, election uncertainty. Should I read the details or we want to talk about that first?
Let's talk about that for a second and unpack what that means.
Record number of home deals collapse in July. Talk to me about that. Are you seeing that with your agents?
Well, we are, and in some ways it's funny because you always say I'm not going to take the excuse of a down market mean that I'm comfortable with being down in my business, and this is obviously a similar conversation because in some ways it's reassuring to understand that it's not just us experiencing these transactions releasing, sometimes 2 weeks in, 3 weeks into the escrow period, that the nation is also experiencing that. But it doesn't really make it better just knowing that other people are going through it. But what do you think about it?
Sure. So let me just give you the statistic.
Okay.
So, and I'm just talking high level, 2020, 2021. It's about 7 million homes sold. Mm-hmm. We obviously have continued to talk about the weakness in inventory. 2023, about 4 million homes, maybe a tad more. This year, we're trending actually under 4 million homes. But for simplicity, imagine that we went from 7 million down to 4 million. Mm-hmm. Okay, so obviously we're down 3 million homes, really 20-something, high 20%, right?
Yep.
On that original 7. Actually, I apologize. If it's down 3 million on that 7, it's actually high 40%. Okay, we're down 40% in inventory. But what's interesting is on the trending this year, less than 4 million homes. So if you were to say in the month of July, there was somewhere around 380,000 homes sold. Okay, 60,000 of those were canceled. 16% of all homes under contract in the nation.
Yeah.
So when you're mentioning, and we're a big enough team that we do see some trends.
Right.
If we sold less homes, you may say the market's good, regardless of what we're doing. It's bad regardless. People are skittish, they're not skittish, etc. But because of the quantity that we sell, it's interesting. You're actually able to correlate. Like, we started seeing more mutual releases, cancellations, whatever you want the terminology to be. We started seeing those in April and May. And you and I, aware of our business, started talking, well, why? Why? And I think it's actually different today than it was in, for example, March, April.
Oh, yeah, I would agree.
Those mutual releases, different thoughts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because in March, April, they had to make decisions just so quick. Right. There wasn't no contingencies, limited contingencies. They got buyer remorse.
Yep.
I think, yes, they're getting buyer remorse, but every day in the world, in our economy, it's becoming more uncertain with the political. And so I think now people are catching their breath and just scared. I don't know. What are you saying?
I agree with you. I think that it appeared as though there was more inventory in the spring just because a lot of people list in the spring. And so therefore, then that also created competition because there's still more buyers than there are sellers in inventory. And so then you're making impulsive decisions sometimes as buyers. And then when you wake up the next morning from that, sometimes you have buyer's remorse, unfortunately. So a lot of our team's conversations at that point was about re-enrolling them in the home that they purchased and how and why it fit the criteria that they needed, and why they ended up writing on it in the first place. And that was kind of one segment of role play and conversations and understanding. And now I think there's a differing, I think people are really questioning the state of the market, and interest rates are still high, although they're lower than they were. And with the uncertainty of things just kind of right now in the world, it also, I think, is playing a role as well. But I want to make sure that we talk about, and we may end up making this the next episode, but about how doesn't mean that that's going to ultimately make you can still salvage the transaction if both buyer and seller want to make it work, just to be very clear.
We see that, right. So we talk to the agent.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you're a listing agent or a buyer agent. We see seller remorse. We see buyer remorse. Seller remorse actually sometimes causes the mutual release as much as buyer remorse causes, because the seller's disappointed they didn't get what they expected, or they still love their house, or they can't find what they're looking for, and then negotiations become very dicey, and then it becomes an emotional process.
Yeah.
And so I think that what I'm hearing you say, and we've talked about over time, is agents, if you're the voice of reason, be the voice of reason. But too many agents get caught right up in the emotion. They either get caught up in the emotion of agent to agent, they get caught up agent to their own buyer or seller, and they just get in the way.
Yep.
What do you recommend? Like if you're coaching, don't get in the way.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, what should they do?
Well, I think a lot of the time we're a facilitator. We're an intermediary. So we have to remove what we would do from the equation. Like, no offense, but they don't necessarily want your opinion. They want you to facilitate, and they're the ones that went under contract on this home. So we have to believe that they love the home, they wanted to purchase it, and vice versa with the sellers. And ultimately their goal is to get to the closing table, which, again, no surprise to anyone, is also the goal of the other party. So that's the good news. We both have the same goal. And so we need to stop talking and start listening and understanding what they need in these moments where they're saying, because it is so easy as a buyer or a seller to be like, I don't even want to move forward. And you're like, ooh, okay. So, but in those moments, that's actually a gift, because it's like, well, tell me more about that. Why are we at this impasse? Like, what can we do to move forward? What ultimately do you want? I mean, that's negotiation 101, is like, I got to figure out what everybody wants, and then can we get there? Is it possible? And then talk to the cooperating agent should be partnering with you, because ultimately you're both serving your clients, and our goal is to get to the finish line and to get to the closing table. So like, hey, this is what they want. What do you think about that? Let's get them together. Let's figure it out. So I think a lot of the time it gets adversarial, or we're not listening, and then it falls apart.
So I heard a big nugget. Tell me more versus, no, this is what you should do this way. It's funny. My wife once came to me, and she just wanted to be heard. Right. It sounds familiar. Like, you've gone to Matt before, and you just wanted to hear. You didn't want his opinion?
No, I didn't want it fixed. I didn't want it to get fixed. Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's like, well, this is what you should do. Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, thank you. I didn't need you to tell me how to.
You just wanted to be heard.
You just wanted to be heard.
You just wanted to.
Correct.
Right. Vent. Mm-hmm. Vent.
Yes, vent.
Yeah, you just wanted to vent.
Yeah.
But instead, we get involved, and then we start talking. And so usually, just like what I'm hearing you say, but you can't mutual release your husband, but it usually doesn't work out very good.
No, it doesn't. That's very true.
Okay.
Right.
Have you ever had buyer remorse? On any product or a house? Have you ever bought a house, or did you ever go under contract on a house and then bag it?
We went under contract on a house, and we had a kick-out clause, and we got kicked out.
You did?
Yeah.
How'd you feel?
Not great. It was actually a huge bummer. But the good news was there was no way, like, our home hadn't even gone on the market yet, and so it was just, I was able to be like, it wasn't the right thing, because.
So you were contingent on a home sale.
Yep.
And you had a kick out.
Yep.
And for listeners, you were contingent on a home sale, so there was a contingency. Somebody comes behind you, another buyer with a firm contract that they can close without selling a home. Mm-hmm. You have the right 24 hours, 48 hours, 72, whatever that is, to firm up, remove that, so you were still in control.
Correct.
Did you at all consider, or was there just no way to buy it?
Well, we had 48 hours, so
Yep.
we were like, well, we're going to take full advantage of that because we have the time. But our 48 hours expired on a Sunday, and our home went active on the market on Monday. So there was like the risk question, which I usually explain contingencies to new agents as protection, and the more that you waive those contingencies, the more risk you're taking on as a buyer. And so in this case, I am risk averse. I don't like risk very much, and I did not want to take the risk that if we essentially firmed up and then our home didn't sell. It wasn't upside downside, if you remember that episode. It wasn't worth the downside. So I felt good about it.
Was it the current home you live in?
Nope.
Or a previous home?
Previous to that.
So is your new home better than the home you would have bought, or worse?
Better, yeah.
So it all worked out.
It did.
So you're happy.
And it's a good story, and I can drive by the other house and be like, whew. So, yeah, no, it's a good story.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Any other buyer remorse? You buy a car, you buy a lawnmower, you buy a video game.
Probably. I mean, I'd have to think about it. I don't know. Thankfully, nothing that like made me not sleep at night. What about you?
So you're a good decision maker.
Yeah, probably too. Sometimes maybe I take a little too long on certain things, but
It's all right.
yeah. What about you?
Oh, yeah.
What?
My wife and I actually 1998, we moved into a home we built. So we spent, 9 months building a home. And then about 2004, my wife identified a home. She stalked the home, like looked at it. And what do you know? That home's going to go on the market. We went over there before it went on the market. We wrote a contract. By the way, they were good friends of ours.
Uh-oh.
We went under contract. It was a Saturday. Same way you got, was a Sunday?
Yep.
Saturday, I liked it. I didn't love it. It was an increase in price. It stressed me out a little bit.
Yep.
And Sunday, I remember we're working out at the gym together, and I'm like, I didn't sleep last night. Like, I was so anxious. I was so nervous. And we canceled that night. But like, there's nothing that anybody could have done. This was just hey, my wife loved it. I liked it, didn't love it, and I didn't want to stretch.
Totally.
So we do see a lot of times where the financial component is, it doesn't make sense for you at that time. And it's perfectly fine. I'm thrilled that we did that, just because at that point in time. Today, fast forward, it's a good house. Don't get me wrong. Somewhere along the line, but I'm a big person that if it's not right at that time, it's okay.
Gosh,
and
I agree.
I'm not one to ever look back and be sorry, mad, or something. No, I mean, you move on, and everything was an experience. By the way, that helped with my future decision making, because we had that. And by the way, we talk about that when sometimes people miss out on a contract, mutual release. It helps with their next decision. So ultimately, a lot of times, our clients are happier the second. You got kicked out. If you didn't get kicked out, maybe you don't appreciate your current house as much, or whatever.
Oh, for sure.
So it's a reference point.
So then that's not the house that you obviously just sold.
No.
So then when did you get that house? How many years later?
That was another house that my wife stalked. And that was...
She should be an agent.
That was 12 years ago, and my wife stalked it. It was a very unique home, and it was in Coming Soon. Okay. And we wrote in Coming Soon, sight unseen, 15 minutes to view it and make a decision.
Love it.
And, that's...
So you were licensed then?
I was. And by the way, the first go-around, I was not licensed, but I sold... For sale by owner per se, I listed MLS flat fee with Greg Abel. That's how I became friends with Greg. It was called Sold by Me. And I go, I don't like your signs because it sounds like it's already sold. Oh. Because it says Sold by Me, as if I already sold it. But I'm like, Greg, I didn't sell it yet. It's just, but it was a branding thing. But anyway, it's like anything. The point is, though, is that agents, relax, take a deep breath. Buyers, sellers, relax, take a deep breath. It doesn't mean that every home is for you or not for you that you write. But at the end of the day, I think you and I would agree, 16% mutual release, 60,000 homes. There are absolutely, with skilled agents calming down their buyers or sellers, that percentage goes down. We don't even have to debate about that, right? We don't know if it goes down to 10%, 5%, but there's no doubt that there's some delta that if everybody just catches their breath, calms down, relaxes, good things happen.
There's always going to be the situations like yours where you wake up, you couldn't sleep, and you're like, I'm not meant to buy this house today. And that is absolutely fine. And the goal would be continue building that relationship so that when you are, you're their agent at that point. Like, you don't want to sacrifice a relationship because you're desperate for a sale. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. But yeah, I think if people can, because the beauty is leverage the contingency period. If they have 10 days and they wake up on the second day and they feel remorseful, let's dig into this a little bit. We've got a few days. We have a blessing here. We have this 10-day option period. If you have the full 10 days, take advantage. Like, take a minute to think about it. What is the thing that's kind of you're holding back on? Is there something that we can fix?
You know, I also, as you're talking, this would be a dialogue. We'll role play very quickly. I'm the buyer, you're the agent. We get back the inspection. No, I'm going to terminate. There is no way that they're going to do everything. Sarah, I mean, we're done with this house. It's no good. Okay,
I understand that. Out of curiosity, is it something where you would at least write down the things that are most concerning to you and that we could provide to them? Or could I get some additional vendors out just so that we have a bit more information on the issues before we make that decision? Would you feel comfortable?
They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything.
I mean, again, we don't know yet, but a lot of sellers would probably more so want to consider items from a buyer that's ready and willing and able to purchase than to go back on the market and have to deal with it again. So you may be surprised. It might be worth your while to at least offer and ask for things.
Interesting. Very positive. Again, just didn't put pressure on me.
No.
Consider. Very friendly demeanor in that. But here's the thing. There are agents, you're right, that are going to say, yeah, they're probably not going to do everything. Or they're going to be adversarial with the other side. No, I would have called also the other agent. Hey, I will tell you, my client's feeling very uncomfortable by the inspection. Let's work together. What's your client's appetite for this? And, you know, I think once you get into some curiosity, but that we say get into curiosity out of judgment. My buyer, me as a pretended buyer, got into full judgment. There is no way they're going to do it. Right. This house is junk. This is it. If they fixed everything, would you be happy with this house? And would it be the house you expected to buy with actually less issues?
Right. Exactly.
So a lot of it's communication.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
We're going with it.
All right.
We're calling it a wrap. Let's do this.